Hi, Tanukis. I hope you're all well, you're safe, and you're looking after yourselves. You're not fighting too much with your siblings. Remember, the best thing you can do for your parents right now is to be nice to your family. We're all in this together, and being cooped up is for a while. We should be back to school today, but obviously we're not. I miss you guys, and I wish we were, but we'll see each other soon, I'm sure. I'm going to continue on with the Secret Seven. We were up to chapter 4 before Easter, and so far we've met the Secret Seven. We found out with the gang. Jack is kind of a bit forgetful, a bit daft, and he got in trouble with his governess because he lost his badge and started kind of talking back to her. And then he realised he left his badge in the old grumpy man's field. No, I am not the old grumpy man. Just grumpy. Not old just yet. Yeah, give it a week or two, more of this. Right, so chapter 4. What happened to Jack? Jack was as good as his word. He went up to bed at his usual time after saying a polite good night to Miss Ellie, but he didn't get undressed. He put on his coat and cap instead. He wondered whether he dared go downstairs and out the garden door yet. Perhaps I'd better wait and see if Miss Ellie goes to bed early, he thought. She sometimes goes up to read in bed. I don't want to be caught. She'd only go and spilt on me when Mother comes home. It's kind of an old word for like a snitch. So he took a book and sat down. Miss Ellie waited for the 9 o'clock news on the wireless. The wireless was the old word for the radio. And then she locked up the house and came upstairs. Jack heard her shut the door of her room. Good, now he could go. He slipped his torch into his pocket because it was really a very dark night. The moon was not yet up. He crept downstairs quietly and went to the garden door. He undid it gently. The bolt gave a little squeak, but that was all. He stepped into the garden. His feet sat quietly into the snow. He made his way into the lane and went down into the field, flashing his little torch as he went. The snow glimmered up, and there was a dim whitish light from all around it. He soon came to the field where they had built the snowmen, and he climbed over the gate. The snowmen stood silently in a group together, almost as if they were watching and waiting for him. Jack didn't altogether like it. He thought one moved, but he held his breath, drew it in sharply. Of course it hadn't. It was just his imagination. Don't be silly, he told himself sternly. You know they're only made of snow. Be sensible and look for your dropped button. The badge, He switched on his torch, and the snowman gleamed whiter than ever. The one with the eyes and nose and mouth, with the cap and the coat one on, seemed to look at him gravely as he hunted here and there. Jack turned his back on them. You may only have stone eyes, but you seem to be able to look with them all the same, he said to the silent snowman. Now don't go tapping me on the shoulder and making me jump. Then he suddenly gave an exclamation. He found his badge. There lay the button on the snow with SS embroidered on it for Secret 7. Hurrah! He must have dropped it there after all then. He picked it up. It was wet with snow. He pinned it carefully on his coat. That really was a bit of luck to find it so easily. Now he could go home and get into bed. He was cold and sleepy. His torch suddenly flickered, and then went out. Blow, said Jack. The battery's gone. It might have lasted till I got home. Really, it might. Well, it's a good thing I know my way. He suddenly heard a noise down the lane and saw the headlights of a car. It was coming very slowly. Jack was surprised. The lane led nowhere at all. Was the car lost? He'd better go and put the driver on the right road, if so. People often got lost when the road was snowbound. He went to the gate. The car came slowly by, and then Jack saw that it was towing something. Something rather big. What could it possibly be? The boy strained his eyes to see. It wasn't big enough for a removal van, and yet it looked rather like the shape of one. It wasn't a caravan either, because there were no wide windows at the side. Were there any windows at all? Jack couldn't see any. Well, whatever was this curious van? And where was it going? The driver simply must have made a mistake. The boy began to climb over the gate. Then he suddenly sat still. The car's headlights had gone out. The car itself had stopped. And so the thing it was towing. Jack could make out the dark shapes of the car and the van standing quite still. What was it all about? Somebody spoke to someone else in a low voice. Jack could see that 1 or 2 men had got out of the car, and he could not hear their footsteps because of the snow. How he wished the moon was up. Then he could hide behind the hedge and see what was happening. He heard a man's voice speaking more loudly. Nobody's about, is there? Only that deaf fellow, said another voice. "Have a look, will you?" said the first voice, "just in case." Jack slipped quickly down the gate as he saw a powerful torch flash out. He crouched behind the snowy hedge, scraping snow over himself. There came the soft crunch of footsteps walking over frosty snow by the hedge. The flashlight shone over the gate, and the man gave an exclamation. "Who's there? Who are you?" Jack's heart beat so hard against him that it hurt. He was just about to get up and show himself and say who he was when the man at the gate began to laugh. "My word, look there, Nibs! A whole lot of snowmen standing out there. I thought they were alive, watching for us. I got a scare, all right." Another man came softly to the first and laughed too. "Kids' work, I suppose," he said. "Yes, they look real all right in this light, but there's nobody here at this time of night, Mac. Come on, let's get down to business." Mac, maybe it's me. They went down towards the car. Jack sat up trembling. What in the world could the men be doing here in the snowy darkness outside an old empty house? Should he try to see what they were up to? He didn't want to in the least. He wanted to go home as quickly as he could. He crept over to the gate again. He heard queer sounds from where the men were, as if they were unbolting something, opening the van perhaps. Then came a sound that sent Jack helter-skelter over the gate and up the lane as fast as his legs could take him. An angry, snorting sound, and then a curious high squeal, and then a noise of terrific struggle with the two men panting and grunting furiously. Jack couldn't think for the life of him what the noise was, and he didn't care either. All he wanted was to get home before anything happened to him. Something was happening to somebody, that was for certain. Out there in the snowy lane, it would need a very, very brave person to go and interfere, and Jack wasn't that brave at all that night. He came to his house, panting painfully. He crept in the garden door and locked and bolted it. He went upstairs, not even caring if the stairs creaked under his feet. He switched on the light in his bedroom. That was better. He didn't feel so scared once he had the light on. He looked at himself in the glass. He was very pale, and his coat was covered in snow. That was through lying in the snowy ditch below the hedge. He caught sight of his badge, still pinned to his coat. Well, anyhow, he had that. I went out to find my badge, and goodness knows what else I found, thought the boy. Golly, I must tell the others. We must have a meeting tomorrow. This is something for the Secret Seven. Wow, I say, what a thrill for them. He couldn't wait to tell them the next day. He must slip out again and go to the shed at the bottom of Peter's garden. He must leave a note there, demanding a meeting at once. It's important. Very, very important, said Jack to himself as he scribbled a note on a bit of paper. It really is something for the society to solve. He slipped down the stairs again and out of the garden door. He wasn't frightened anymore. He ran all the way up the lane and round to Peter's house. The farmhouse stood dark and silent. Everyone was in bed, for they went early at the farm. Jack went down to the old shed. He fumbled at the door. It was locked. His hands felt the big letters SS on the door itself. He bent down and slid his note under the crack at the bottom. Peter would find it the next day. Then home he went again to bed, but not to sleep. Who had made that noise? What was the strange high van? Who were the men? It really was enough to keep anyone awake for hours. Chapter 5. Exciting plans. Which we'll come to tomorrow. Right. Hope you enjoyed that chapter. We're going to go to chapter 5 tomorrow, and I'll be making sure I put up a chapter every day. I also have to cut my own hair this week, so you can keep an eye out for that and see how this goes. If it ends up shaved, you know it hasn't gone well. So wish me luck, guys. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.